All right, Sunday 524, 65 degrees outside in Geneva. Very windy, very overcast, blips of sun. It's going to start heating up a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and start with where we are in the fungal disease management. You're moving in, a lot of places are moving into the first or second cover period. We're deep in the petal fall. People are thinning. Some people probably have already finished thinning or are getting right into that 10 to 15 millimeter stage. My fruitlets are a little bigger, like in the second cover picture as well in Geneva, and I imagine others are further along. This is the part where we really want to pick up the single site fungicides if we have extended rain periods, just so that we can get a handle on apple blotch and some of the summer diseases and finish up or finish strong on powdery mildew and cedar apple rust and stuff like that. And then the fungicides, we should be focusing on group 7s, Tessera's, Miravis, Provia, Fontella, some of the major ones that I know of and use regularly. And there are others as well. They're all pretty good. They all have their rates adjusted for their intrinsic activity. Some are better in some fungi than others. And we've talked about this before. Axios is a good option for scab and I believe mildew. We're doing some more research on that. Group 11s are fantastic on powdery mildew and summer diseases. Sometimes they get bundled with a group 7 in the form of lunisensation and Maravon. Good on scab, summer diseases, the whole package. But the problem is if you use one of these, you use up one of your 4 allotted uses of an 11 and one of 4 allotted uses of 7. And if you're trying to get through a bunch of erratic weather that comes and goes and puts out heavy pressure, you want to try to maximize the number of groups that you use. You're not going to have a failure if you use just Ceres, actually works pretty well in mildew, or Miravis on powdery mildew. It's going to be just fine. It may not be as strong as the others, but you're not going to see an issue most likely. Of course, the group 3s are fantastic against rust diseases, scab, and summer as well. Only a very few are good against mildew. And so as we're coming into some rainy periods, we're kind of in one right now. And if you're having, and we don't really have the 15% or more ascospore ejection, I'm going to probably push this thing back to more like an inch of rain. Probably from now on, if it's been over a week, I'd say a strong inch. Particularly if it all comes in a day, it can be pretty intense. Or if it's coming with about 20 to 30 hours of leaf wetness, it's time to use up one of these again. I mean, if you have a strong bit of coverage like Captan and Mancozeb, which we'll talk about as well, they can weather the 1.5 inches of rain, but they'll kind of be worn off a bit. But if you're going into a predicted 1.5 inches of rain, and this has probably been over a week or more than 5 days, you could think about using one of your big ones. I mean, obviously, count the number of remaining uses you have for each one of these fungicides. This one only, I think, allows 2. Axios only allows 2. This week, at the beginning of the weekend, I thought it was going to be fine, and you could get by with Captan Mancozeb type combination. Or in my case, I'm doing all my trials without Captan and Mancozeb to see how I can what happens if we put the biopesticides in as our substitute, being fearful of the future, of course. And I think it was more of a one of these weekends where you'd want to use a single site. Anyway, organic as well. Some of your best bets are Oso is a really strong material. It is a legitimate antibiotic for fungi type antibiotic. You should think of them as bacterias, but it's antibiosis and it works well on fungi. And Howler as well, another really strong antimicrobial producing natural product right there. What I do sulfur this week, I've seen a lot of powdery mildew coming in on my rather problem varieties, usually the yellows, and they have a lot of primary shoots, probably beginning about almost 2 weeks ago now. And that's still one of the strongest materials you have. If you are coming up to a lower ejection, you can use or not a lot of rain. We don't really have the 5 days of rain, but we have like almost a 1 inch to 1.5 inches. I think it probably technically was only 0.75. But man, it sure seemed to rain a lot yesterday, and this sort of leaf wetness is continuing on through the weekend into Monday, which makes me a little bit anxious. We'll see the predictions coming up. But I think hopefully next week with the heat and hopefully less rain, you'll be able to take a lighter approach, picking one of your liquid biopesticides if you're in the organic group, or Captan Mancozeb, or still use one if it's in a low period. The one thing that's nice about using these for scab is they'll do your double duty and pick up a little bit of any residual fire blight that could be creeping through. And speaking of fire blight, Here we are. All right, we're pruning out. We've done that. We've done the pre-bloom. We're into the SARS. We've done the antibiotics and biologicals. You could still have some late flowering varieties or some rat tail. We'll talk about what to do with that and when to do it. And then we should be moving into the Prohex. We've had such hot weather at petal fall. I've been putting in my antibiotics for the last straggling bloom, as well as my shoot blight material, prohexadione calcium. And then that's kind of where we are right now. We're moving into some hot weather on Memorial Day. I don't think it's going to be a massive Memorial Day massacre, but it'll be building up. And many people have just thinned or be thinking about thinning sprays, and there'll be dead tissue and a lot of heat. This could provide an opportunity for fire blight. If you're still at bloom, or even if you're very active shoot growth, we're going to talk about what to do with that. But if you're still at bloom, it will be some various high-risk weather. Finish strong again, streptococcugamycin. If you're organic, and you've done some Blossom Protect early on, you could take this program that my friend Quan Zhang has developed out of University of Connecticut. It's the 2+1. A Blossom Protect followed by 2 oxidates at petal fall. The 2 oxidates are to kill off any remaining Blossom Protect microorganisms, present that rusting, and they'll also help with your fire blight. So if you've done some Blossom Protect prior to petal fall or last week, you could just come in and hit it with one of the oxidates and, maybe wait a couple days later and hit another one. If you're tempted to use Blossom Protect and it's not a high risk of rusting variety, you could just come in next week and kill off the remainder of it, or after the infection is sort of pushed through and it cools down by the end of the week, you come in and hit it with another an oxidate to kill off any remaining Blossom Protect organism and any remaining fire blight that happens to get there. But at this part, we're going to be thinning. Trees might start pushing with the heat and all the water we have constantly. And if they're really large trees, not like the ones shown in the picture, you're going to probably want to use a 6 ounces per 100 Pro-X to get a bump or even a sort of a response from that type of. If they're growing really vigorously, then this will definitely slow them down. If they're not, or if they're a really small tree, this 2+1 = 4, if you will. 2 ounces of prohexadione calcium plus 1 of the Actigard gives you a little better control than 2 of each, or maybe not 2 of each. 2 would be better of Actigard, but it's a lot more expensive. It'll give you almost a comparable control to the 6 ounces per 100 on a small tree. It won't slow down the crop as much. If your tree's about 3 to 5 to 7 years old, you could probably do pretty well with the 2+1 on them as well. Hopefully you did one last week or already been thinking about it, and now's the 10 to 14 days later you want to slow them down before this hot weather push. Organic, Regalia Lifeguard, petal fall, 10 to 14 days later. And if you have a really susceptible variety, you should maybe do it again at 21. If they're not pushing very hard due to low nutrition, you're probably fine, and you'll probably weather this hot period. But we could start seeing some things. It's a little too early to see some stuff from the last 90-degree days in terms of blossom blight failures, but something early on could begin to show up. We'll boost the internal defenses, and if you have your rat tail bloom, that's the Blossom Protect again on your non-rusting cultivars. Or if you've been doing it, this is the time to make one of those oxidate applications, as I mentioned before, and remove the remainder of the Areobasidium. And we had already cold, wet weather over the weekend. And maybe that's the time you want to use that Blossom Protect if you can get one in before the Memorial Day celebration. Wipe out the remaining colonies so you don't get any trouble, or if they're in the process of damaging your fruit cuticles. For only very russet-prone varieties, I've not seen this in a long time intentionally with using this product. I have seen the organism cause the damage, not with the product. So it can happen. So that, or if you're in rat tail bloom, use a liquid biopesticide. I mean, the oxidate is a fine one. It is liquid. It'll burn off the remaining junk and kill any fire blight that's building up as well. It won't have any residual, but it'll kill what's there. All right, let's take a look at the forecasts. All right, Long Island. Let's see, what do we have? All right, they're done with apple scab, but I almost going to see how bad it is. I'll put a green tip date in there. Still says it's over. Let's move it ahead. Really far, do we get anything? It's not a big ejection event weather, it looks like. They would say you're in the middle of about a 25% ejector if there were ascospores, so it's a pretty big infection. You can kind of see that it's a very long combined infection. 50 hours of leaf wetness, you're not going to be able to get in there. And in this case, if you felt like you have 1.5 inches of rain, everything is washed off, If you wanted to start the week off right, you could come in after Memorial Day and apply one of your single site fungicides, and it should do pretty well. I'd recommend an Approvia or an Inspire Super for those summer disease and a little extra oomph if something has slipped through before the big rain of last week. All right, let's see what else do we have. I'll move around. Let's take a look at Fire Blight at Long Island as well. Yeah, this is your chance. You've got a couple days before it builds up. It says mostly Long Island should be out of bloom, but if you had late cultivars or anything else, you can see where the big nasty weather is. It's not predicting water, but any bit of water, dew, humidity, or your own spray could trigger these 208s on that EIP to be a nasty infection weather. So you got a couple of days. If you have anything else that needs protection, or if you're wondering when to get the PGR spray, probably Tuesday morning, I would guess, to put it on with a boost in the heat. So in case fire blight takes off. And if you have flowers, obviously the day to protect them would be anytime tomorrow or the next morning. It looks like you do have a little bit of leaf wetness coming in on the 26th. So be very careful with that as you're finishing up fire blight. I'm going to go check in the Hudson Valley. What do they have? It's all bloom is gone. Well, everyone has stuff. Let's see what we got. Gross, you have a slight break and you're getting water on the bottom of the 26. So if I had any flowers left on anything or rat tail bloom, it's so scary at the end of the season. Make sure you have your growth regulators on, and this is a very scary window. Even if with my garbage research orchards I have in Geneva, I'd be going out, and I will be going out and spraying on Memorial Day to cover this up. And this is your I don't know. This scares me to death. It's getting hotter, and a little blip of rain, a pop-up thunderstorm, and you got an infection. If you know more flowers, you're fine, but make sure your growth regulator program is good. Let's look at Scab. Nothing is easy. We have cold, we got disease, we have insects. It says everything's over. You're in the big infection period as well. What would it have said if you were really on in the? It would have been like, this is a massive infection event. Probably all the water that you've received, that 1.6 inches of rain. You could also come in and if you were going to put something on for both the fire blight and the scab around this time, I think I find Approvia and Inspire Super to be some of the more innocuous, easily mixable ones. I've never had any problems with complicated tank mixtures in any of those. Same with Maravon and others. The only one that people have had issues with in the past has been Fontellus. But the others are fairly nice mixing products. You're not going to use a lot of volume. If you wanted to come in and make sure you got everything cleaned up, and you're going to put in strap and some apogee, I've never had any trouble mixing all three of those things in the tank in this type of situation. I think you'd be fine. All right, let's look ahead at Voorheesville. It's going to be the same for everybody. We're in a big infection. Yeah, you're in a big infection period. I mean, it's the ascospore part's over with. If anything has creeped through, is what we're really worried about. Try to assess the magnitude of this silliness. And I mean, if it was in the middle of the season, this amount of rainfall would be a massive ejection event. And so if the apple scab pathogen is not listening to the forecast and it wanted to trick you and it was developing slightly erratically due to strange weather, you could be looking at a massive infection event. I do the same thing we recommended for the Hudson Valley, for the capital region. The Approvia and the Spire Super are great for getting the start of that fly spook city blotch nonsense. Voorheesville, it's probably going to look the same for everyone. We're having such a big hot period. Like, no flowers are open. Oh, yeah? Well, how about now? Oh, they are. And look, it's same as the Hudson Valley. Yeah, I don't know. Wait till everyone goes to bed, go out and spray the stuff, go back to sleep. No one will know that you sprayed on Memorial Day. There it is. A good bit of rain. Yep. Follow the advice. It's going to be, looks like the same situation for everyone. We're going to go up in Peru where things will likely be different. Oscar Florence. Gross. It's not different. They probably actually have bloom. So this is a big one. Get that on there. And I have mixed and strep and apogee and regalia all in the same blast. And we're going to go see, to sort of protect this out. It's going to be a real sharp decline on the 26th, which you get 2 days for that. So you got some time to get it in there. Brew on this one really quick. What does it look like up there? your scab's a little easier, but it is a 9% ejection, and you're actually not done with the thing. And you can see how if we change our green tip date, it predicts the maturity peak to be a little bit bigger, and it's a big ejection event. So yeah, I think I'd go in as well. You tip probably up there, you'd be worried mostly about scab, so Spire Super Probe, you'd be real hammers. You can put that on, clean that up, seem to be fine with mixing the others. Now, what happens if you get strep burn? Do you freak out? No, it's really not a big physiological damager to the crop. Every time I see it in my own orchard, I usually give the field crew a thumbs up because I know they put on strep enough to get it inside the tissue, and I know my rate didn't cheat me out. I mean, you're going to get a little marginal yellowing, but I really don't think it impacts the ability of the crop to manage the situation. Okay, let's move into the finger lakes. This is me. What am I gonna do? Same thing, probably. Yeah. It's a gross. It's not as bad for us. We did only get about that point. No, we got the whole thing, 0.9. Going into tomorrow. It's just a big one. Yep, there it was. Yep. Yeah, so a little bit of that. You could come in and clean up any messes. And Fire Blight, I know it's pretty much the same. Gross. It's like there's no flowers left. Oh, I see them out there all the time. Let's take. I can see them today. Oh, look, there they are. Same thing. EIP, a little blip of water, big numbers coming in. This is the chance that, in my case, if I wanted to cause an infection, I could do it. There's something open enough and just at pediful enough to cause an infection. Or I could use all of my Aprovias and Spire Supers. In my case, I have a lot of mildew, so I might put on a group 11 in there with my Apogee and Strap. All right, moving into the middle of the place. Let's take a look at Williamson, T. Marie, see how they're doing. We don't have any flowers. Oh, yeah? Well, you know, what if you did? What if you had a new block? Oh, along the lake. Oh, you're skirting free. You just had a big blast at the 90. Now you're done. I'm going to check another one because I'm just too scared. Check Sodas really quick. I'll make sure they're Cherry Long or Doug to Bats. And he's like, we're done. If you weren't done, do you need to worry? In the Sodas area. No, you're all right. You're really going to make it fine. I'd say focus on your thinning. It's just not going to be as hot along. Well, a little hot along late, not as hot. Not building as many heat hours. You're looking good. I don't know about Niagara. Oh, let's do Appleton. See how they're doing. Got to spell it correctly. Appleton. Doesn't like it. Okay, let's do this one. Let's do North. And you're skirting the edge in the Niagara. It could be a little hot. You could have to deal with a little bit of fire blight. And depends on if you had anything in bloom. If you didn't, you're probably okay. Just keep your PGR program going. And also want to make sure, because we didn't check Sodas. And we didn't check Demery. Yeah, you have the scab thing. It's happening. A ton of rain. I'd go in and clean it up just in case anything was left over. I mean, let's see what it looks like. Yeah, it's be a 30% ejector if we still were in the middle of the season. Gross. Check out Williamson again, just for fun. Then we'll look at our final. Yeah, a lot of rain. Just a big period, just coming in at the end of it. I mean, I'm going to, like, when I protect against my fire blight, I will be putting in, like I mentioned, the group 11, because I have a lot of mildew, and if you're along the lake, mildew may be a bigger issue. I want to check Appleton out as well, and we have the same. So there's no spores. So yeah, how about now? Yeah, big ejection event, 2 in a row. You had a little dip in the middle. You can come in and clean up afterwards, and that's going to get rid of that 2 inches of rain. It's really intense. And yeah, and that should cover us for the week. And hopefully we'll be ending the forecasts and focusing more on other content and observations I see from the actual growing season. All right, with that, I'll let you get back to it. Have a great Memorial Day.